twist.
I think, well, listen, Mark, listen, hold on. When I say, would you have caffeine today?
What the hell is that up to you?
How much coffee did you drink before the show?
Listen, you can't polish a sleeper, right? throw tomatoes at me, do whatever you're going to do.
It's Corso and Catone.
Welcome into Corso and Catone, the real deal New England feel. Chris Corso sitting right over there is Mark Catone. Joe Guarnieri will be jumping in, and we are presented by Corso Law Group, Arizona's leading criminal and traffic law firm. CorsoLawGroup.com. Allow us to be your voice. And listen, you can see, Mark, you want people to see us, right? You want them to see all your antics and everything, you know? And right already.
I don't want anybody to see me.
Oh, yes, you do. Yeah, you all want to see him out there, and you could do that on YouTube. Make sure you type in Corso and Catone. All of our shows will pop up, including this one, and subscribe. Give us that thumbs up. Let all your friends know about Mark. So, but listen, if you can't do that, and you can only listen to us, you can do that on iTunes Radio, the iHeart Radio app, and for you Alexa listeners, just say, "Hey Alexa, play Corso and Catone podcast on iHeart," and our latest episode will pop up. But if you want to see us live right now on Podbean and interact with us, you can do that, again, on Podbean, listening live. Check us out on Twitter, at Corso_Catone. Mark, I'm buzzing through all this because we have so much to get to. I want to,
my God,
get through it.
It's ridiculous today.
So, but give us a call, 855-313-PATS for that heated hotline. Everybody loves it. You can call 24/7, leave us a message. Anything is on the table for you. Joe's going to go through that, pick the one he wants us to discuss. That one could be yours. So 855-313-7287. Gentlemen, are we all shoveled out from the snowstorms and
we made it through?
It's ridiculous.
You know, we got enough bread. We had enough water. We had enough
this
dog
time
food.
we didn't need bread. We just had ice. We didn't need bread for this one. I don't think.
Did you have enough dog food too? We want to make sure.
Yeah, that's that. I made sure of that last week.
If you heard last week, which I encourage you to go back and listen, Mark needed to get dog food in the middle of a snowstorm. So listen, I'm glad everything's good with you guys because, again, we have a packed show. We're going to have Heated Hotline, our weekly rewind, talking about Flores and coaching changes and the championship games. And, of course, Catone's Comments, a fan favorite. Make sure you stick around for that. And, hey, for the Pats Nation, everybody in the nation, we're going to be remembering Tom Brady today. Mark and I have a lot of interesting takes on this. So stick around because some things you may not have thought of, right, guys?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So, all right, good. So let's jump right in. Want to get started with Heated Hotline, Mark?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's have it, Joe.
Let's have it.
Hotline.
Hi, it's Judy Maxwell here from San Francisco. I'm a longtime listener, first-time caller. Love this show. You guys are the real deal. Listen, I just wanted to call about the Bruins. First of all, why is Ross even on this team? He stinks. Why doesn't Swayman say, Ross, he's done. Just release his ass. And the other thing is, we are the tough guys on this team. I remember when guys like me and O'Reilly were kicking the crap out of the guys who beat up our players. Now we get pushed all over the ice and nothing. We want us to fight it. I want to see fighting. So I wanted to know what you guys thought. Because I'm angry. Thank you.
Hey, listen, and some of it was a little muffled. Joe, I couldn't get the name. Was it Judy Maxwell? Judy Maxwell
from San Francisco.
From San Francisco. So
the opposite coast.
We stretch all the way across the country.
Yes, we do.
Judy Maxwell, thank you for the thank you for the call. We appreciate it. A little muffled, but I think I caught the drift, Mark, of what you
we're wimps. We're wimps.
Exactly. But Mark, talk about Rask for a minute. I mean, this is getting to be
Chris, that was why did we I don't understand the point of bringing him back anyway. You signed the veteran, you signed the guy, the veteran from Buffalo, you gave him millions of dollars, and you got the young kid backing him up, ready to roll. Hopefully he's your next guy in a couple of years. Maybe you get out of the veteran's contract, whatever. But why did you need Rask? I don't know. It was time to move on for him. He gave you the excuse to move on. He got injured. That's it. It was a nice career.
And now he's injured again. And
I
he's
mean,
on,
come
he's on that list. I mean, it's enough. You're right. It's enough
joke.
now, Judy. It's enough now. We get it.
She's 100% right.
Yeah, and what makes it worse too is Olmark's not playing to his contract either. I mean,
No, he's not.
He's making $5 million a year. I want to see Swayman enough. Like that's
No,
it.
I want to see Swayman too, but Chris, not in Olmark's defense. I mean, they've been playing games all year with him too. I mean, in, out, in. Then you bring Rask in, and Rask plays
Right.
2-3 games. I mean, if you paid this kid this
Right.
money,
Play
he's
him.
either your number one or he's not. But you can't play games with him.
No, I mean that's it. You gave him the money. You got to live with it.
And if he's
That's
not,
it.
you're right, Chris. Put the kid in there.
Yeah. Well, the patriarch of the team, I think wants him there, the captain, Bergeron. And so I think that's one of the reasons why you see Rask
Bergeron
on
wants
this
who
team.
there, Chris?
Rask. Yeah.
Okay.
A lot of the veteran guys are comfortable with him. They like him and all that other crap. Look,
Well, you know what?
Swayman's
Ship them out too. It's time for a reboot. This team
Right.
is nowhere near, Chris, ever going to win a Stanley Cup with these guys. They're not
No.
even close to winning a Stanley Cup with this team.
No, and I don't want to hear about, Rask has the experience. He's been there and all that other crap. Yeah, he's been there, but he's never done it. He's never gotten over that hump. So, yeah,
Chris,
I'm with
what,
you.
What about the other thing she brought up about
Yeah,
the fact
the
that they don't defend?
It pisses you off as a Boston fan because she brings up Neely and O'Reilly. My God, she brought up O'Reilly. Mark.
Wow, she's as old as us, for Christ's sake.
She's a diehard,
Yeah.
But yeah, listen, she's right though. She's right. You're watching all us.
Enchanted.
Yeah, but she's watching. Look,
No, she's
we're watching all
100%
these
right.
guys get kicked around, pushed around on the ice. Hall, that game where Hall got just, it was against Colorado, and he had a shot. It was a clean hit across the ice, and Colorado didn't like it, and so they chased him around the whole night trying to get him to fight, and not one guy for Boston.
Somebody's going to drop the gloves. To
No, it
protect him,
pisses
right?
you off. And it
Someone's going
happened.
to do something. And even the other night, Chris, there was a hard hit against one of our guys. I think it was the Seattle game. He's laying there and he gets up, right? But it was a hard hit. Well, instead of us cracking somebody and hitting somebody back, nothing. There's no response. And to your point, Chris, it was a clean hit. Guy from Seattle hit him clean, but there's no response.
No.
Nothing.
No, you got to respond. It's absurd. And then that Arizona game was the same thing. I mean, they're skilled, and everybody knows it. They're skilled guys that just getting, and Forberg and Carlo. These are the guys. Don't even get me started on Carlo. That's a whole other show. He's pissing me off beyond. And that Arizona game, man, that dude is really irritating me. Can't get anybody out of the way. But yeah. Where is it? Where's the tough guy? Where's the fighting? My God, it pisses me off. Mark, get a pair of pads on, get out on that friggin' ice, and start kicking the shit out of people. Enough is enough, right?
Yeah. They don't want they don't want to engage, right? And it's not even fighting, Chris. Oh, I get it. Maybe that's a lost era, right? Maybe you drop the gloves and you want to fight. Maybe that's a lost era. But you can still hit somebody hard into the boards, Chris, and be aggressive. There's no aggressiveness. There's nothing. It goes to their whole style of play. They're not attacking and digging in corners and banging, and they don't do that, right?
No.
And that's why when they face these better teams, Chris, they get pushed all over the ice because they're not willing to play a physical style of hockey.
Yeah, I mean, they're taking that Montreal approach now. You get a lot of skilled guys, but at some point, Mark, they're skilled guys. Some of these skilled guys are going to get hurt because they're getting pushed around too much because players aren't worried on the other team. There's nobody they fear. I mean, that's the way
And
it is.
you know what? And I blame Sweeney because the way he constructed this team, Chris, you got to have a couple of guys that can respond in a physical game to give it back to the other team.
Right.
That's hockey. It's hockey, for Christ's sake.
That's it. That's
Come
why I love
on.
hockey. Beat the crap out of each other. Let's go. Let's do it.
You just
But
want to drop the gloves. I'm not
That's
even
it.
saying
Drop them.
drop the
Let's
gloves.
go. Joe, let's drop the gloves.
It's
Jesus
the only
Christ.
state that allows it. I mean, what the hell? Plus, they're on ice skates. It's like watching the Olympics, but a new form of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Guys
it's
on
it.
ice skates beating the hell out of each other. I love it.
And they're just squeaking by these games. They go to the break in 8th place. Arizona, Dallas, Seattle. I mean, Dallas got their ass kicked. Arizona, they snuck it out, and so did the thing in Seattle. So they got to figure things out in this little small break, right?
I don't think. Yeah, I don't really think that. I don't think they're going anywhere, Chris. Maybe they could win a series in the playoffs. Maybe.
Yeah, they're in the 8th spot. They'll do that. Right? Yeah. But maybe even not a series, Mark. So
maybe not even.
Heated Hotline was presented by Studio 42 Designs. And listen, I mean, so much, Mark, so much from this past week. There's no way to possibly get to it all, but we're going to do our best. Joe, Weekly Rewind.
Ooh, Weekly Rewind.
I'm getting it. Going back through the week. About a weekly rewind. So, Mark, I mean, we got to start with the championship games just for a minute.
Oh,
you know?
absolutely.
I mean,
we do.
what was your? I loved it.
Of course you did, because Kansas City got beat.
I love the result. Mark, what did you see, though? I mean, this is
what I saw, Chris. And I'm happy to say today, and it's
we got to give Mark his props. Have to give it to him.
Yeah, by the way, yep.
It's fitting because we're going to talk about Brady today. Everybody wants to say the baton's been passed to Patrick Mahomes. What baton has been passed? He's never won. Number one, he's never won a big playoff game outside of Arrowhead Stadium. Never, ever, ever has he done that. So let's start there.
Yeah.
Then you've gone to 4 straight AFC Championship games. You've lost 2 of them on your home field. You've been to a Super Bowl that you've lost, and you've been to one that the other team gave you the game in the 4th quarter. You shouldn't even have won that game. So what the hell? Okay, he's a good regular season quarterback. I get it. The baton's been passed from Brady to him. Are these people crazy, Chris, making that comparison? He will never, ever, ever. He may get yardage and touchdowns and all that nonsense. He's never going to win the championships Brady won. In a million years, Chris, Mahomes.
No. And you know what? This whole nonsense about the Kansas City Chiefs or the New England Patriots.
Oh, that's bullshit.
Get the hell out of here with that. I agree with you, Mark. And the people say, well, if they won the coin toss, they would have beaten the Patriots that year. You know what?
They won the coin flip Sunday.
That's
Chris,
right.
They won the coin flip Sunday.
That's right. And you get beat by the Cincinnati Bengals at home. I know they're a talented team and they're upcoming, Mark. And Mark had it flat out. Mark had them. Cincinnati had them pegged right. They're a fantastic offense. They're tough to stop. And defensively, they're playing better too. But Mark, I thought they were a year or 2 away.
I said to you, Chris, I said they will be Kansas City in 2 years. They'll be the next Kansas City because they're up, they're young, they need a couple of more pieces, and they're going to be tough to beat. But I thought they would do well in the playoffs this year as well. I didn't think they're going to Joe Cool, but Chris, they're going to Arrowhead and just, the biggest thing, Chris, they were down 21-3.
That's right, 21-3. And Mark, you know what? With Mahomes, to add to that, he's the reason. He's one of the reasons. It's not like Brady, where Brady brought him back in these Super Bowls, had the lead, and then the defense blew it. Mahomes threw a friggin' interception. He threw a couple of picks in overtime.
Picks in that game.
So no, they are not. You're right. They are not the next New England Patriots. He is not. I'm not. It's Herbert, Allen, Burrow. Those are the guys and those teams that you got to concern yourself.
And don't get me wrong, Mahomes is a great quarterback. However, what happens to Andy Reid's teams after a while, Chris? It happened in Philly, right? The type of
no more buy-in.
Right? No more buy-in. The type of atmosphere he has, the type of locker room he has, that laissez-faire attitude, eventually that wears on you, and there's no discipline. There's no, you know what I mean? And there's no toughness in a tough game. You punch them in the mouth, Chris, they have trouble reacting to that. They've never have been able to do that. Never mind if you can get them out of that damn stadium, how they'll react in a playoff setting. Eventually it's going to have to happen, and then you'll really see what that team's made out of, Chris.
Right. They've backed into a lot of good situations.
Oh, they absolutely have backed into a lot of good situations. Don't get me wrong. They win games, Chris, but they've backed into a lot of good situations the last couple of years, or they wouldn't even have went to the AFC Championship games.
And with Cincinnati, good for them. Good for them. And I know Joe is a diehard Frisco fan, and I know he's not going to like this, but this is the new Joe Cool. I mean, this dude is got, like you say, ice water in his ice water in his veins, Mark. And I'm happy for this team. I'm happy for the Super Bowl. And on the other side, Mark, we thought the Rams would be there.
We did.
We thought San Fran we thought Garoppolo would be Garoppolo, and that's what happened in that game.
That's what happened in sections of that game. That's what happened. Absolutely. And don't get me wrong, Chris. Stafford tried to give the game to San Francisco too.
God, yeah.
I mean, Stafford throws that ball over in the middle of the field. The kid for San Fran drops it. If that kid makes that pick, Chris,
right, that
might have been a different game. It was right in his hands.
Yeah, you're right.
Stafford, they came back and won the game, but Stafford wasn't, all what he's supposed to be cracked up to be. You traded for this guy. I mean, they kind of almost like they backed in because San Francisco again just like they did in the Super Bowl, gets to the fourth quarter and they wet themselves.
It's going to be hard for Cincinnati. Go through what next week. We're going to talk about our Super Bowl analysis, but that front, that defensive front for the Rams, man, they are nasty. They are
Chris,
nasty. With
you remember
Floyd
back to that Tennessee game? How many times did he get sacked, that kid, against Tennessee?
9.
Imagine it against this front.
You know, Donald and Floyd and what's his name? That they
Miller,
got from Denver.
Von Miller.
Oh, please. So we'll see what happens with that. We're gonna have our analysis next week. But Mark, other stories, you know, in this past week. I mean, you can't ignore Flores.
No, you can't. You can't ignore
Flores brings a lawsuit against the NFL, for racially motivated, tactics and hiring and bringing up the Rooney Rule. He also named Miami, Denver, and the Giants, in this suit. Mark, tell the good people, what do you think of this and what happened?
Well, Chris,
what's he basing it on?
Well, I think he's first of all, he's basing it that the Giant situation comes up as an issue because of a text that Belichick sends saying to him, "Hey, I heard you got the job in New York. I'm hearing from New York and Buffalo you got the job." And when he sees the word Buffalo, Flores is like, "What the hell with Buffalo? Know anything about me?" He figures he must be talking about Daboll, Brian Daboll, who got the job because he coached with New England too. So Flores texts him back and says, "Do you mean me or Daboll?" And he says, "Oh, I effed up, not you, Daboll."
Mark, do you think that was intentional?
I don't think it was intentional, Chris. You know these phones. You got B, D, F, right?
I can't.
I mean, the guy is going to be 70 years old, Chris.
Right. I can't even see the damn thing.
I don't think he did it intentionally.
Well, that was 3 days before his interview. See, it was 3 days.
Supposedly, according to the Giants, Chris, it was before Daboll's real interview, according to the Giants.
Well, now they're going to say whatever they, Well,
the Giants' response, Chris, they said the allegation that the Giants had been made prior to Friday evening, January 28th, is false. And those that based that allegation on a text exchange between Belichick, in which he ultimately states that he thinks Brian Daboll would get the job, is irresponsible. The text exchange occurred the day before Coach Daboll in-person interview even took place. Giants ownership would never hire a head coach based on a 20-minute Zoom interview, which is all Daboll had at that point. In addition, Mr. Belichick does not speak for and has no affiliation with the Giants. Mr. Belichick's text exchange provides no insight into what actually transpired during our head coaching search. That's the Giants' response to Belichick's text.
Well, what are they going to say? I mean, that's it.
The only thing that might save them, Chris, is they didn't really have a full-out interview with Daboll yet.
And Daboll's been quiet.
Oh, he hasn't said boo. But Chris, listen, obviously, if you're a minority coach, if you're a coach of color in this league, an assistant coach, look at this guy from Kansas City.
Yeah.
Eric Bieniemy.
Yeah.
How does that kid not have a job yet, Chris?
I can't even fathom how that's happening, unless he's not interested because he's going to take over for Reed. But otherwise, no, Mark, these guys have, this Rooney Rule, it's become kind of a joke, and for Flores, and again, he talking about Denver where a guy showed up, Elway showed up hungover, because it was just basically a go through the motions kind of interview. And Elway
gives some BS response. Oh, right. I just got off a plane. I was flying on the red eye. Blah, blah. Oh, bullshit, right? They'll try to come up with listen, I'm glad Flores brought up the suit, Chris. It needs to come to light that this, like you said, the Rooney Rule, Chris, is a joke, right? It's just a formality.
And what do you make of the Miami portion of this, where they were wanting to pay him $100,000 for, and this was in 19, $100,000 so that he will lose games and they could get Burrow in that.
That, Chris,
draft.
Is an interesting part of this suit because, as you brought up to me the other day, if they get into the discovery stage and they start to pull stuff in and they start to bring people forward in the discovery stage, the NFL might have a serious problem on their hands.
I haven't read the complaint, so I'm just kind of going by things I've heard, but I haven't read the complaint yet. And it's vast. I mean, so. You got the racial issues in the claim. The thing with Miami, And there's an indirect, because some people saying, well, I don't understand how that, if they have white coaches that were offered the same thing, then how's it? Because and again, there may be other allegations for different reasons, but I think the point is, hey, you're making me less marketable if you want me to do something like this, and I'm losing a ton of games.
Because it's hard enough for a minor. It's hard enough
right.
for a person
How the hell is
to get a
anyone going to
job.
hire me? So yeah, listen, and this is a huge risk for him.
Well, because he could end up like Colin Kaepernick, right? Because obviously, Chris, you look around the league and look at some of these quarterbacks that play or backing guys up. Obviously, the owners got together and said nobody's hiring Kaepernick, so he got blackballed. So Flores runs that risk, even though he brings up a legitimate issue and suit in this league. And
he's willing to hang his career up based on it. So, again, and he's in the lead. He's a lead candidate for a couple of teams, but they're not going to hire him because they're going to consider him litigious. I mean, guy brings lawsuit. I can't, and not to mention there may be a little conflict there. You sue the NFL, that's the owners. So now you're going to hire him,
And
so
Chris, how about the Giants' initial response? We hired the most qualified candidate. How about that? That was their first response. Somebody should have caught them before they.
Ridiculous.
Right? How do you make that comment that they hired an assistant over a guy that was his head coach and actually was a successful head coach, Chris? Well,
because they're the New York Giants and they're absurd and they have a history of this. That's why they have a history of doing what they're doing. Okay, and so we'll see what happens. We're going to be talking about this a lot more in the coming weeks as things unfold and come out. And, Mark, I want to get to CATONE'S comments, but just a little bit. And next week, we're going to get more into it. What does this mean that Ziegler and McDaniels go to the Raiders, which everyone expected would happen?
And Chris, McDaniels just took another offensive assistant with him. I think the guy's going to be I don't know if he's going to be the OC or the quarterback's coach, but he took somebody else from us.
Yeah, so this is we have to talk about whether or not this.
Tell you what it means. It means you're gonna see Tom Brady in silver and black.
I think you got a better chance of him coming to your guys. Okay, over there in San Francisco.
I do too. I think you got a better chance of him playing for the 49ers if he comes back at all.
Yeah, and we'll talk about that with the nation in a few.
But Chris, I think it was a blow because number one, we had a better draft this year, and from all accounts, that was because Ziegler had more input into the draft. Supposedly, Kraft said, "Listen, Bill, you got to take some input into these drafts. We're getting killed here with the drafts." And supposedly, Ziegler had a lot more input. Our draft was better. If that's the case, that's a big hurt, Chris.
Yeah, and it's interesting,
especially what you need on this team right now.
And it's interesting that Mark brings up Ziegler rather than McDaniels much. O'Brien, the OC in Alabama, who used to be the offensive coordinator in New England, is expressed interest. I think he's going to end up being the offensive coordinator for the Patriots, which, that's given the circumstances, that's not so bad. But it's interesting that Mark brings that up because that's more of a hurt, like you said, to the team.
Yeah, because
right?
Chris, if O'Brien comes in, say O'Brien, they claim there's mutual interest. Okay, if O'Brien comes in, so O'Brien worked at Alabama, Chris. Alabama has more of a modern take on what New England does. They run a spread offense. They use a lot of motion. They put a lot of things in play that a lot of these more modern offensive schemes do. If he came to New England, I think he could tell Bill, listen, Mac Jones was successful with this at Alabama. Let's infuse some of this into our offense. We're just going to bring in a couple of more receivers. He knows all those guys at Alabama. I'm sure he could tell Bill, hey, this is the guy you need to put with Mac. Let's grab him, right? Maybe you go get Ridley, whatever. But I think O'Brien, Chris, would infuse some of that more modern stuff. I think the playbook needs a refreshing. Not a total rewrite, but a refreshing. I think he could do that. And you remember last time he was here, Chris, it was O'Brien who had input into drafting Hernandez and Gronkowski.
That's right.
And that was his idea to come up with that 2 tight end monster and put Hernandez in motion and do all these things. That was O'Brien's brain that thought of that, Chris, not McDaniels. Yeah. So I think I'm more concerned about losing Ziegler because of the player personnel aspect of it, Chris.
And we're going to talk a ton more about this as the weeks go. The combine comes up, free agency comes up, and once they do get the hire, we'll talk more about it. So Weekly Rewind was presented by Special Sauce Podcast. What's your special sauce? SpecialSaucePodcast.com. Hey, everybody, when we come back, CATONE'S comments.
It's the Special Sauce Podcast. You liking the sauce? The sauce is good, man.
This will start off as finance dry. Train them, trust them, and let them lead.
With your host, Marcus Arias. Tune in to Special Sauce Podcast, wherever you podcast. What's your special sauce? Time for CATONE'S COMMENTS!
So, as you know, every week I come in, I have something crazy or something that's on my mind that upsets me, right? There's always something that gets to me, whether it's, I don't know, weather, something always gets me, Joe, right?
Not you.
Yes. But today, I'm going to do a little bit of a twist because this week, Chris calls me and tells me this crazy story, right? So he tells me this crazy story about a dog that keeps going to the bathroom in his driveway.
Say it the way it is.
The dog shits in his driveway, and the guy just lets it sit there and takes off. All right? I'm going to let Chris, I need to let Chris tell this story only because I don't want to give up my segment. However, he has to tell you about the guy whose dog keeps shitting on his driveway.
You said I was not allowed to talk till March, till the spring.
Well, I'm going to give you this one reprieve because this story is so crazy. Because you reacted like I would react.
Joe, he throws these little surprises at me. Okay, I'm going to do it quick. Okay, quick. I'll try to go. Everybody knows I talk too much. Here's what happened, but you got to go back a little bit. The guy across the street has a dog. Now, the houses are spread out a little, but the guy across the street has this dog that doesn't stop barking. The friggin' dog barks all the time, no matter what's going on, and they're home. They're home allowing this to happen. So the lady that lives next door to him, you know me, I don't want to be bothered. Don't bother me. Don't come near me. But I'm putting up Christmas lights and doing that stuff, so I make the mistake of being out in my front yard. She comes up and says, listen, the dog, is it bothering you? Yeah, whatever. She said, they won't train him, so I'm going to get a dog whistle, she said. So let me know if your dog has a problem or if he hears anything. I said, well, he's in the house. Don't worry about it. So she's basically, every time the dog barks, she's going to blow the whistle and train the next door neighbor's dog, Mark. Have you ever heard of it?
What is wrong with her?
Right. It's worked, though. I haven't heard the dog barking much. So fine. So now we know we got an issue with this dog and this guy.
That's abuse. A dog whistle.
I'm trying to put lights up, Mark. I'm trying to put star showers up. So now
showers.
I'm in my garage, okay? And he's walking his dog. Now everybody walks the dog, has a bag with them. They pick up the shit, all that.
Yeah.
This dude is walking, doesn't see me in there. Okay. So his dog takes a dump right on and we have the gravel, the rock, the decorative rock out here in Arizona, no grass. So takes a dump on the rock and walks away, just goes back into his house. So, you know me, Mr. OCD over here, I lose it in my brain. I'm like, okay, calm down. Maybe he's coming back. Maybe I don't.
Maybe he had to get a bag.
Right. I mean, I don't want to start any shit because he's a neighbor and all that. So I'm not like Mark where he pushes his neighbors down to the ground. So
me,
so I'm waiting and I'm waiting and I'm waiting, and in the meantime, I call Mark during the waiting. And I tell him what's going on.
No, excuse me. He's sending pictures. He's taking pictures, sending me pictures.
Yeah, because I want it. I want, in case I need it later. So, okay. So I see he's not coming back. So now I'm livid. I'm like, I don't know what to do. What am I going to do about this? So do I call the HOA? Do I think? I said, no. I don't go to the authorities. I handle it myself. So here's what I did. And Joe, you can tell me too if you thought this was wrong. So I take a shovel. Okay, I pick up the shit. I walk over to his driveway and I dump it on the driveway. I mean, I was just returning it to him. It belongs to them, so I just was returning it. That's what I did.
On it.
That's how. Hey, listen.
So, Chris, did the guy ever address this with you?
Well, so now I'm looking at I'm looking to see if he ever picks it up. Mark, it sat there for like 2 days. Okay. Then it was gone. So obviously he cleaned it up. And it's not like a dump around here,
No.
So he cleans
Chris,
it up.
they just drove their cars over it?
No. It was in his driveway. Oh, I don't know. Yeah. I it was kind of in the middle. So maybe
Okay.
they, so.
Okay.
So no, I haven't spoken to him since. I haven't really seen him much. I think he's staying because he has to know, right?
Well, yeah, he has to know it was from you.
But Mark, the weird thing about this is when I
You should have got the bag that he picks the dog stuff up with and put it around his head and tied it and hit him with a broom and then took it off his head. Give him a couple of whacks.
The views that are expressed on the show do not
straighten him right out. Want to straighten him right out.
Do not try this at home. So, Mark, listen, I don't understand. People hear this and say, "Oh, yeah, the dog." Why is it acceptable, Mark? Why is it acceptable that? Look, I understand. First of all, to me, it's the lowest form of anything. If you were an alien looking down at this planet. And you saw two species, one walking, the other one behind it. One takes a shit, the other one picks it up. Who do you think is in charge of this world? Yeah, the dogs, right?
Of course.
That's the lowest form of disrespect I can even think of. It's shit. It's shit. You're putting that excrement in somebody else's yard. That can't be anything. Joe, is there anything worse?
People just suck. Is that you're talking about the alien looking down? I always wondered, like they're looking at us, going, "They're not ready yet. They're not ready. They're not ready for us." People are just the worst. I don't even know how we got this far. Sometimes
I encourage everybody to go watch this movie, The Burbs. Go watch The Burbs because this is like what this is all about. The neighbors and everybody's in each other's stuff and business.
That's
so, Mark, you asked for it. That's the dog story.
Well, we had to.
To be continued.
Now, Joe, I would have handled that totally differently because I would have been very calm. I would have went and put it in a bag.
New Year's resolution.
I would have threw it out. I wouldn't have put it on the guy's yard. I don't want to cause conflict because that's not me. No conflict.
You blew the leaves back into the neighbor's yard again. You
that was before my New Year's resolution.
Right, which you've broken 18 times. And then the guy fell down. The guy fell down in the snow. Go listen to last week's show. Go listen to last week's CATONE'S comments where the guy goes,
down a new path.
So to be continued. I'm sure we're going to talk about this neighbor quite a bit as the shows go on. Leading up to
Joe,
our 50th
I wanted
show.
to do it again, Joe. I wanted to do it again.
No, he's gonna.
Joe.
You know he's gonna.
Yeah, we'll have a lot more leading up to our 50th show, which is in a few. So stay tuned for that. So CATONE'S comments, sort of. CATONE'S comments, CORSO'S CRISIS.
There you go.
There you go. CORSO'S CRISIS. I like it.
Presented by Mark. We're not taking anything away, pal. I won't talk to you. I won't talk on this segment until like April now.
Well, I had to let you tell the story.
Thank you. I'm sure everybody out there appreciates that too. So CATONE'S comments was presented by Corso Law Group, Arizona's leading criminal and traffic law firm, CorsoLawGroup.com. Everybody in the nation, Pat's Nation, we're going to talk Tom Brady next up.
It's that time again for a timeout for a message from one of our sponsors. No one ever thinks they will be in the need of a criminal or traffic lawyer, but things happen. Corso Law Group is Arizona's leading criminal and traffic law firm. Their 20-plus years experience and attention to detail has helped thousands of people all across this great country who found themselves in a situation in Arizona. So whether it's a traffic ticket or if you need reduced DUI or more serious issues, call or go online to CorsoLawGroup.com and talk with these expert attorneys who I know will help you. Corso Law Group.
Now back to Corso and Catone and the Pats Nation.
He'll take the hit. What's going to be mobility?
His first start today for the injured Drew Bledsoe. Brady, the cool California.
Caught! Touchdown! Julian Edelman. Gronkowski and a touchdown.
And there it is. The dynasty continues.
Back in with Corso and Catone and everybody in the Pats Nation. Welcome in as well. Joe, listen, that's fantastic.
That's a great job, Joe.
Yeah, right.
Great wash.
Kind of gives you
great-
chills a little bit, doesn't it?
It really does. It
There's
really
so
does.
much footage. It's like such
Yeah.
to get it down to like literally like 10 seconds. It's like he's got so much
Yeah.
footage. Like, what do you do?
It's
You know?
unbelievable.
There is a lot of footage, which leads into this. And listen, Mark and I have
Chris, most of that footage was of what was it? There's a teeny ding at the end of his career from those idiots down there in Florida. That's all Patriot stuff.
because that's how much it is of his
Okay.
career. This
Okay.
much. I get the Super Bowl, but it's this much of his
Okay.
career.
Well, you need him raising the ball, you know.
There we
That's
go.
it. And so listen, we got a lot of good takes. Mark and I have some interesting things. But before we do that, we would be remiss if we didn't just acknowledge this dude's career. I mean, look, to me, he's the greatest professional player. I don't say athlete, but player in any sport in history, in my opinion. Greatest leader, greatest player, we need 2 weeks in order to go through all the numbers, all the accolades. No, so we can't do that. But I can just tell you that, no better player in history than this guy. And as a Patriots fan, Mark, here's the thing. When we were growing up, Mark, Joe, myself, there's no, in our wildest dreams, okay, we wouldn't even think they would win a Super Bowl ever, okay? And in our wildest dreams, we could not ever dream about 2 decades of this kind of dominance, this kind of, 6 Super Bowls and everything else that happened. And obviously, Tom Brady was an enormous, enormous part of that. And as this Patriots fan, Tom, I can't thank you enough for everything you brought to the region and everything you brought to Patriots fans everywhere. Mark, it's never going to be done again.
No, never be done again, Chris. And yeah, I think so. You look around the region, Chris, and I think Tom Brady, when you think about it, the reason why we're on here today, the reason why you got all these sports radio shows around New England, the Patriots, everybody wanted to talk Patriots. And that kind of spurned a lot of this talk radio and a lot of these stations, Chris. If it wasn't for Brady and the success of the Patriots, these stations probably wouldn't exist, Chris. Okay? That's the effect he had, not just on football and on sports, but on an entire region. Right? He just affected the entire region. You couldn't go anywhere without people talking about the Patriots and the NFL and this. And that's what he did. And you're right, Chris. He was the greatest player. He is the greatest player, not athlete, player in any sport. Because people can argue he played the toughest position in all of sports. There is nothing like playing quarterback in the NFL, in any other sport. That is the toughest position to play in professional sports. I don't care what anybody says, Chris. And he did it at a level that we'll never see in our lifetime ever again. That's for damn sure. I mean, everyone wants to pass the baton to Mahomes. We saw what he did last week, Chris, right? That's never going to happen. So I'll echo what Chris said. I want to thank Tom Brady for everything he gave this region. And the funny thing is, my son's a freshman in college. My son knows nothing else. This is all he knows.
Great perspective. Great point.
That's all my son. He affected a generation of kids of sports in this part of my son knows nothing else but Patriot success and Tom Brady and championships. That's all my son knows.
Hey, Joe, he's Tommy Terrific, no?
Tommy Terrific for sure. I mean, you can't find anything better. The best part about him is that, coming from the industry of Hollywood and that style of watching people do the political correct sort of answers to all the questions and be the terrific guy. He, I think, embodied that on top of, doing that style like they all do at the beginning of their careers. But then he embodied it and really embraced being that type of guy across the league, across every other sport, across everything else that he's done. Every time you see him and you go, that's respectable. You know what I mean? I like seeing people take on that persona.
Yeah, and as we reported last week on this show, he was set to retire, and he did that this week, just that, at 44 years old after 22 seasons. Mark, let's talk first. Let's talk about the statement, because that's been the thing that's been ripped apart all week long, and anything that came after that from him, maybe people thought was a little disingenuous, but we can't read the whole statement. I mean, it's but in over 1,000 words,
and and he put it on Instagram. Okay.
Yeah.
So you go on Instagram, you get a thing, you got to scroll. So to read this thing, it took you a couple of minutes because you had to keep scrolling on your phone or on your tablet, whatever you were reading it on.
Yeah. Here it is. I mean, it's pages.
Yeah.
And in not one piece of it, in over 1,000 words, not one mention of the Patriots, Belichick, Kraft, the fans, the region. Nothing to do with the Patriots. Mark, what do you make? And I have some things highlight, but what do you make of that?
So people were saying all week, Chris, well, he thanked us and he did all that when he left. Why does he need to do it again? He don't owe us anything. Listen, he's not leaving the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to go play for another team in free agency, and he's thanking the Bucs. And he's ending his professional career. This is it. It's the end. You can't give a sentence to say, hey, I thank Patriot Nation and the fans of New England for all of their support. You don't got to mention Kraft or Belichick. You don't have to. But at least mention a sentence about the fans. Okay? But I'll tell you what, Chris, as I went back.
People are pissed.
They're pissed. But as I went back and reread it several times, and then afterwards, there was some other stuff that came out, as you said, Chris, and it was kind of inconsequential, but I don't think it was, because Kraft then gave his statement talking about Brady, and he was an extension of his family and how great he was. And Brady says after that, thanks, Pats Nation, and Hots. And
he retweeted what
he retweeted
Kraft.
Retweeted what Kraft put. But he doesn't technically thank Kraft. He thanks Pats Nation. Belichick puts out a statement.
Well, yeah, we want to talk about there's a few things I want to highlight.
But then I want to finish, Chris. But
when you're done.
In Belichick's statement, he then turns around, Brady, and retweets it, but puts a caption and says, thanks for coaching me, blah, blah. And he puts greatest coach in history. He doesn't remark to Kraft. He remarks to Belichick, because I think in his mind, yeah, you know what? I always knew this was a business to Bill, and he was a jerk, and he let guys go. My 20 years, he let veterans go. I knew he would let me go, but he thought Kraft would intervene, and he didn't. And I think it was more of an FU to Kraft than it was to Bill, because he acknowledges Bill's the greatest coach in NFL history. But he doesn't even say thank you, Kraft family, thanks, Pats Nation, in his response to Kraft's letter. I think he's more pissed off at this point, and he won't let it. I think he's having trouble accepting. Kraft says you were like an extension of my family, but you let him go, Chris.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great point. I mean, that really is a great point, because, in his statement, when he talks to the Bucs teammates and all that, greatest teammates, you could ask for, and so on. Glazer family, mentions the Glazer family, how to support them. Bruce Arians talks about
Bruce Arians.
I mean, your firm leadership and guidance. What the hell? What, that is. And so again, he mentions Alex Guerrero. Of course, he mentions his family.
Well, he had to mention Guerrero and his family, obviously, and his family. Right?
And Mark, he puts the picture of himself up when they were playing in Gillette this previous season in the rain. That in the Bucs uniform, that's the picture he selects. Mark, I agree with you. He wasn't just retiring from the Bucs; he was retiring from football, and it's a culmination of his career. So to not mention them, at all, anything to do with them, that's intentional. That's clearly intentional. Do you think, Mark, that, and I want to get to Belichick statement in a second, some of the things I see, but do you think that it just brought it all back for him? And he was being petty, there's no question, but
oh, it
you
absolutely
think it brought it back
for
for him where he basically said, it would have never come to this. It should have never come to this. You guys wouldn't take care of him. You wouldn't, whatever it was, it shouldn't have come to this. And and it makes me think about it again.
Oh, absolutely, it did, Chris. I think the emotions all came filtering back up because he knew this was the end of his career, and it had to kill him, Chris, that he didn't retire a Patriot. Could you imagine, Chris, if he won another Super Bowl here, had 7 or maybe 8, and he retired a Patriot? It would be the culmination of culminations, Chris. I can't even imagine what it would be like if he retired a Patriot based on what he did in his career. So, yeah, I think it absolutely, when he was going to do this, he said, you know what? I'm retiring from this shithole place with these idiot coaches.
They made me be here.
They made me be here to retire with these idiots.
Right.
Right? And I think he really was pissed at Kraft more than Belichick because he always knew Belichick treated this like a business, Chris. That was Bill, and he knew it. But Kraft, I think he expected Kraft to say, no, Bill, he stays here. And Kraft didn't do it.
Right. Because again, we talk about why it happened, and it's kind of going off, but we talked about why it happened. Like you said it many times. Belichick took a gamble that nobody would be interested in. He wouldn't have a market, and you said it, Mark, and he was almost right. Belichick was almost right until these buffoons came in and screwed things up. But that's Belichick doing his job. That's Belichick, like you said, being Belichick. That's what he does.
And I think Brady expected that from him, but he expected Kraft to step in and say,
Kraft
no, he's finishing his career here.
I agree.
And Kraft didn't do it.
I agree. It's interesting though, Mark, when you read Belichick's statement, and here's a couple of things.
Oh, Belichick is a little. Oh, absolutely.
Because he says, "I'm privileged to have drafted." That's the one I got some things highlighted here.
He's
privileged to have drafted and coached Tom Brady, the ultimate competitor, so on. Tom's humble beginning in professional football ultimately ended him becoming the best player in NFL history, which, by the way, he's always acknowledged Lawrence Taylor to him.
Yes,
as
so
the
that's
best
new.
then.
And I think, Chris, when he acknowledged him as the greatest player in NFL history, I think that might have struck Brady a little bit because he's never said that. He's always said it was Lawrence Taylor. You're right. Yeah. So I think that is probably why he said, you know what? Yeah, deep down, he respected me. And that's why he tweeted the greatest coach in NFL history.
Well, I mean, that may be a right back at you deal. You know what I mean?
It might be. I think it is, Chris. But he didn't have to say that in his response to him.
But Belichick saying, I drafted. In other words, Belichick's basically telling us in the statement, I'm responsible for some of this too. And I want you people to know that. And I want him to know that.
Of course
right?
he is. Of course he is.
Look. The whole thing about, why would he ever think Lawrence Taylor was the best player he ever coached? It's obviously Tom Brady, because I think Belichick's the kind of guy that I'm not going to say all this stuff about an active player till you're done. Yeah. And I really think that's but it was really interesting looking at that statement, Mark. And so, let me ask you, this statement is just a microcosm of, doesn't it feel like we entered it doesn't feel this whole Brady thing from 19 on was like going in being in another dimension. It was weird. It shouldn't happen. It was just strange, right? I mean, it should have never happened.
Chris, when you got rid of Garoppolo, we said it. You said it. You said, okay, now you sign this guy until he's 45, and that's it. 5 years, whatever it is. Spread the money out. Bring guys in. Let's do it. Let's roll with this guy. Because at the time, you said at the time, I don't know if I would have maybe kept Garoppolo at this guy's age, but we did it. Now let's commit. Let's roll it. And they didn't do it, Chris.
Yeah.
That would have been the perfect time to do it. It would have been over, done with, spread the money out, no big deal. And at 43, if he starts to slide off the cliff, he wouldn't have played if he couldn't play at a top level. He would have walked away himself. He's got too much pride.
So, Mark, when you talk, because you mentioned, okay, why did he eliminate them? I mean, we've talked about why this happened in New England, why he left, but why he omitted the Patriots fans, and so on from this. How much? I mean, you said Kraft. He's pissed off at Kraft. It all came back around again for him. It all kind of
when you read the
blossomed
statements,
again.
Chris, and then you read the responses to things that were sent out after that, his response to Kraft's statement, his response to Belichick's statement really solidified for me, Chris. There's a real hurt.
Yeah.
In
Well,
there
it just brought it
for
to the
Kraft.
surface again.
And you know the other thing, Chris, I'm going to say this. The day that he came back here that night, you and I were there, Chris, okay? So Kraft, and you brought this up during the week, and I'll let you talk about this a little bit, Chris, about Kraft and imaging, and he cares about that stuff, right? And I'll let you talk about that in a minute. Yeah. But he's got a camera crew there, so they can get him and Brady hugging in the tunnel before the game, okay? Then something I didn't realize, Chris, when they're waiting for Brady to come out for warm-ups, Kraft, was on the field with a camera crew.
Yeah.
He was waiting for Brady to come out for warm-ups so they could have an exchange and it'd be nationally televised. And Brady didn't come out for warm-ups. Brady came out after when he did the let's go to our fans, but it was after that. Kraft thought he was going to come out before that, and he would have a moment with him that everybody could see.
Yeah.
Didn't happen. Belichick, on the other hand, Chris, at the end of that game, it was a quick exchange. Boop. Belichick got out of there. Belichick went into that locker room privately. And whatever he told him, whatever that conversation
which is what he's done in the past for other people and players and organizations he respects.
Belichick did it privately, wanted to clear the air, didn't try to make a show of it. And I think Brady respected that more than what Kraft was doing that night. I really do. In Brady's mind, I think he had more respect for what Belichick did than what Kraft did that night.
Well, I think he's come to understand, and maybe being in Tampa made him understand by playing for that cartoon character of Arians, that much more respect for Belichick too, saying, whoa, it never hit until now. And maybe that's where it came up with that. Hey, Belichick was doing his job. Belichick was doing what he's supposed to do.
Kraft
is the guy that should have stepped in.
Kraft didn't do his job as the owner.
And
talk about Kraft with imaging.
Yeah, he is interested. The PR thing for Kraft is huge. That's him. That's who he is. He wants to make sure that it all looks right. What the outside people are seeing, and like to Mark's point, what he did. And also, look, Mark, what happened when Ted Johnson reported that somebody close to where Kraft was when he heard the news, when he read the statement of Brady retiring, Kraft lost his mind.
Yeah,
pissed off,
Do
yelling.
you think that's
screaming.
accurate, Chris?
Yeah, I think Ted Johnson was told that. I don't know how accurate it is, but it kind of tracks with what we're saying.
It would absolutely track.
He was pissed off.
Chris.
He was upset. He was just angry, yelling and screaming. And then he put the PR statement out. This is why he's concerned about his image. Then he put the statement out about Brady thanking him and all that. That wasn't because he calmed down. That was because he had to. There was no other choice but have to. So Mark and I have always said that Kraft's culpability in all this is just understated.
And we've always thought, Chris, that he's gotten off the hook in all this.
Right.
They've always bashed Belichick.
Yep. So, and Mark, how much of that omission of New England do you put on the camp? Look, I'm so sick of hearing the Brady camp. Like, what camp? What are you talking about?
Chris, listen. I told you this during the week, Chris. So when Peyton Manning retired, he retired in front of a Denver Bronco emblem, flag. He was a Bronco. He retired a Bronco. He didn't go sign a one-day contract with Indianapolis. He retired a Bronco. He won the Super Bowl with the Broncos. But his father played this game. And I know I rag on the father, Archie Manning, and joked and all that stuff. But the father played the game, Chris. And he understands the magnitude and the historical significance of his son and what his son did in this league. And you bet your ass his son ran his retirement statement by the father, and the father I'm sure the father, if it wasn't in there, he would have said to him, you better mention the goddamn Colts, because you wouldn't be where you were without the Colts. And he said in his statement, I would be remiss if I didn't thank all of the coaches I had in Indianapolis, the Indianapolis fans, the players who supported me and played with me, who are still lifelong friends with me. He made it a point to call out the Colts for like a minute or two. in that state. Because how do you not, Chris?
All you in 1,000 words, all you needed was a few, just a few.
So,
You know,
and
but Mark,
Indianapolis let Manning go. They kind of,
same kind of thing. And he clearly had some left in the tank, although but
not the Super Bowl year he didn't, but the first couple of years he went to Denver, he had something in the tank.
He made them relevant again. So
yeah,
but Mark, going back to the camp, the Brady camp,
the father, Chris, hates us.
You know what? Listen,
us.
I understand. I'm a father.
That's why I brought a bocce.
Listen, I'm a father. Mark's a father. I get it. Somebody wrongs your kid. There's nothing, you want to. But Mark and I, there's no way that I'm going on talk shows, that I'm going on the radio. If my son, there's no way Archie Manning's doing it because these are people with class. These, this is, you know what I mean? Understanding the right thing. What did the father do? All the father did was have him. I mean, he brought him up, he raised him. I get it, to be the kind of guy he is and all that stuff. But as far as his, why are you on the radio? What are you on the radio? It's Belichick's fault. We're so pleased with all this. You're just goosing and lighting the fire the fire. Don't tell me that that's what Brady wants to say, and he's doing it through the father. And then Guerrero's another.
Oh, Guerrero's another buffoon, right? But
you see them all in the box and everything.
So, Chris,
it was nice when you saw him in the box after they lost that game to the Rams, right? Everybody was,
So, Chris, his camp, you're right. And his camp, I don't know, whatever. Chris, now I think we officially can turn the page, right?
Well, listen, go real quick. Talk about the Patriots fans are pissed off. Yep. They're pissed, okay, about the omission. Should they be? Because this has been kicked around back and forth, okay? And Murray, that moron.
Oh, that moron with the creamsicle sweatshirt.
He's like, I'm so happy now I can come down on the fans. No, I can give my bullshit. But, Mark.
He's a jerk.
What do you think? Should the fans be pissed off about this or not?
Yeah. Because, listen, through Deflategate, through all the shit that happened with him, the fans always defended him. They went to the wall for him. And take Kraft and Belichick out of the equation. I said this to you last week, Chris. All he had to do was say, in his reel of 1,000 words, is I'd be remiss without thanking Patriot Nation and the New England region for supporting me for 20 years. I love you. I'll never forget you. That's all he had to say. He did not have to mention Kraft. He did not have to mention Belichick. You don't go to mention your teammates. Just mention the New England area, the Patriot fans, and that's it. Because those people defended him, Chris. Because let's face it, he was hated. There was a time when people were starting to get sick in New England, hated him, and he was like public enemy number one. Then all of a sudden, the hate towards the Patriot organization, Kraft and Belichick, all of a sudden Brady got put on a pedestal when he went to Tampa Bay. I'm sorry. Come on. So, I think they have I don't give a shit what Murray says. Listen, you couldn't mention the fans. I'm not saying he owes us anything. He doesn't. But it just, in my mind, would have been a classy thing to do. That's all. And whether I'm right or wrong, who the hell am I? Right? But I'm a nothing. I'm an eraser on the tip of a pencil. Who the hell am I? Shit.
Yeah, Mark. And so, listen, I want to get the 2-minute warning right now because Mark and I want to talk about our best and worst moment, in our opinion, of Tom Brady and his career. His career is 22 years. So, Joe, we ready for 2-minute warning? Let's get there.
You got it.
So, Mark, I'll give you mine real quick, and then you got the floor. It was hard. Well, I'll go with my worst moment. The worst moment is, leaving the Patriots. That's the worst moment that ever happened. Reading that statement, thanking the Patriots and saying that he's moving on. Yeah, that's the worst moment I've ever had for me and his career and so on and so forth. The best moment for me, it's different. It was I think it was against Carolina, okay? When they blew that pass interference call in the end zone to win the game with Gronk. Remember that?
Yep.
And he chased the official up the tunnel, screaming at him, chasing him. That, to me, you talk about the spike in the Raiders game and the snow. That was pretty cool too. And down 10 in the Super Bowl to the Seahawks and what he did. But that tunnel moment, for me, awesome. That's Tom Brady. That passion. Loved it, Mark.
Yeah. No, you're right, Chris. And I got two things, too. So first, I guess my worst moment, Chris, was when he read the statement. Absolutely, I'm gonna take a little different take. I'm gonna take it with him on the field. Is when that idiot from Kansas City, Pollard, the safety, cracked out his knee in the following year in 08 after 07, because I think even though they wouldn't have won undefeated, Chris, but they would have won the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
they still held enough of that team together. That year would have been a Super Bowl year. You won 10 games with a backup. And then my best moment, Chris, with him, just to watch his greatness. And I'm going to say this because I just happened to watch it again last night. The Super Bowl against Atlanta, Chris, in overtime, they win the flip. They win the coin flip. You want to watch just film and precision, and how do you take a team down the field? That drive, where he put balls, Chris, it's just textbook. It's a video. It's something you want to show kids that are learning how to play the position.
yeah.
Is that series in overtime and what he did is that's just epitomizes who he was for us.
Agreed. And we're going to talk so much more about this. And is it really over for him too? We'll talk about that as free agency and gets going, and we'll talk about that. So, but Mark, some people to thank. We could have gone hours and hours and hours on this.
Yeah,
and
we
so
went a little over today, Joe, but we had to.
Hey, everybody in the nation, stay tuned. We will be talking about this moving forward. But some people to thank today. I want to thank the good people at Special Sauce Podcast. What's your special sauce? SpecialSaucePodcast.com. Jag Media Productions. I want to thank Studio 42 Designs, Studio42Designs.com. Corso Law Group, Arizona's leading criminal and traffic law firm. CorsoLawGroup.com. Allow us to be your voice. So listen, tune in Saturdays, 7 p.m. Eastern, every Saturday for Corso and Catone. We'll always have Heated Hotline, our weekly rewind. Going to get back into B's and C's some as they get to the breaks. And, of course, Catone's comments. And next week, we're going to have our breakdown of Super Bowl 56 and what we expect to see. So you definitely don't want to miss that Rams-Bengals matchup. And listen, a good friend of the show, we want to wish get well. Jack had a procedure done, and he's a great fan, great friend of the show, and so we all want to wish him a speedy recovery. So for Mark Catone, Joe Guarnieri, I'm Chris Corso. So long, everyone.